Okay, we'll go ahead and call this meeting of the City of Litchfield Park Design Review Board to order. Everyone, please rise and join me in the pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so I won't help to the community since there's no here. We'll go straight on to our business item A. Happy New Year.
That's our call to the
That's our
community.
call to- Final Hilltop Park design, and Randy's going to present that to us.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, Happy New Year. Hope everyone had great holidays. Feel like I haven't seen you guys in over a year. Item 4A is the Hilltop Park. I last presented to you in October, November of last year after your comments were received and our friends from PW Litchfield Heritage Center were received. We went to RPG, had a very similar conversation, and then City Council with a similar conversation. From that, there's been a few changes we wanted to bring back before you so you can see the before and after. It's a bit of a focus from the newspaper if you're familiar, spot the 5 differences. There's not a lot that has changed by any means. Just as far as formalities, it's zoned agritourism. This is essentially the project that binds everyone together as far as the museum, the library, the school, the theater, by having this park space.
Did you want to see it in color? What do you got?
At the north and the west sides of the site. This is a contractual stipulation between us and the school. This will open on August 3rd, 2026, or so help me. And what I'm presenting to you tonight is let's call it the ultimate build out. We are expecting a dollar amount that is a phase 1 dollar amount, and then everything above that would be a future phase. However, it's council's discretion to see where that line ends up being of what is funded this first phase and what is funded in future phases. I will tell you though, the stipulations that we have with the school is that the barbed wire chain link is gone. The houses are painted, people can walk this site, landscaping is in, hardscaping is in, and all fire access is put in. So as far as the overall site, and then I have subsequent slides that zoom in to each one of these quadrants, but just to give an overall layout. The site remains what you've seen in past. The school is on the southeast quadrant. If you've driven there lately, they will finish the last bit of block on Tuesday of next week for the fly tower where all the curtains and counterweight system is for the stage. So starting on Tuesday, you'll get a full sense of the scale of the theater and the school. The school's wrapped up with block. I've got a report later. I'll show you a few images from that as well. The library, which has also gone vertical now, up to about 4 feet of block as well. The foundation's all in, is at the top right or the northeast corner of the site. If you've seen the site, there's a very large pile of dirt, extremely large pile of dirt. That is essentially where this parking lot is on the north side. The museum shown there in the center, the biggest building, the original cottage 1, is kind of anchors the site as well, right in the center. I'll go into the details here in the subsequent slides as we zoom in so we can all see it a little easier. As far as the hocus pocus test, this is one of the things that has changed. The playground was by itself towards the public works yard, somewhat separated from this event space, somewhat separated from the bandstand, from the terraces in its own area. In our conversations with City Council, there was a bit of back and forth between whether or not a playground was really part of the makeup of this. That's where we started the conversation. By the end of the conversation, it was determined that a playground shall be included and located closer to the library. What this does give us is the opportunity to delay bathrooms, quite frankly, by utilizing the library and the museum for those sorts of things. This also gives the sloping event space the opportunity to be part of the playground. What I mean by that is formally it was anticipated to be a structured climber This area is sloped, so as you're on the sidewalk there on the south side at the cottages, looking north towards the stage, that entire grass is sloping down and depressing towards the parking lot. What this does is it gives the playground and the slides incorporated with it a chance to just be part of that ground. So instead of fall risks and climber structures, the hill itself is the climber. There are elements of play as far as, almost like a rock climbing sort of thing, but not as intense. The slides are embedded into the hillside, and there'll be a ADA merry-go-round or spinner that's embedded into the ground there at the bottom, as well as musical instruments. We're being very cognizant of having the right musical instruments with the right tones, not just things that make noise, but things that make music. Big difference. That playground, just for a sense of how much this hill is, at the north side of the playground near the ADA parking there in the parking lot, let's call it 0. As you curve around that playground and climb to the highest point, that's about an 8-foot climb. And again, you're not on ladders and towers. This is just the earth as it rises up. The peacock element was envisioned to be a floral element that has changed to a sculptural element. It'll be most visible from the air. Certainly we don't fly, so there is a bit of a tilt to it so that you can see its perspective as you drive in. That is still being sourced and determined where and how we can get that done. Parking is the majority of this end of the site. The stage is anticipated there to be at the bottom of the event space, shaded as well. We do anticipate that the slope of the land being at the north end with the cottages so much higher in elevation, as well as the western side with the bandstand being so much higher elevation, that this will be a very shady area to begin with. But certainly we're cognizant of where trees are locating and that stage having that weather element by having it covered as well. The fire turnaround hasn't changed. That is the access point for the fire department to access all 3 cottages. It isn't going to be in DG. There's very little difference between the desert scape of the rest of the site and that DG fire line. The only difference is this will hold a fire truck instead of just holding plants. But the style of the rock, the size of the rock won't be that different. We don't want curbs, red paint, signs. We want this to disappear. You'll see that the sidewalks cut through this area as well because the sidewalks and the fire lane are at the same elevation. So, knock on wood, the fire lane is never used for fire purposes. It's just an area that is left open in case of need.
I imagine that'd be more used by EMT, but sometimes they do bring the ladder truck for that.
And it is designed and has been worked through with Goodyear Fire to incorporate whatever kind of apparatus and need.
Question about the Public Works.
Oh,
Since you, that's the first time I saw it in this little picture. So the Public Works, where it is now that we've talked about remodeling it. So this is going to be built first so they can move out of there into this and that can be taken over.
Yeah, Board Member Derry, it's a very exciting time. It's too exciting, quite frankly, with the amount of fires in the oven. Something that has changed is our longtime Public Works director is currently on leave. There's an interim director that's come in and is looking at all these sorts of things. I'm going to answer your question eventually. It's just a long way to answer your question. There is plans to construct a new Public Works yard this fiscal year. It was part of the approved budget by council last July. The plans are at 100%. The plan was to represent those elevations to you this evening based on your very comprehensive comments as well as council's comprehensive comments. That applicant is spending significant more time, I guess you could say, re-examining that building. So it's not ready from an aesthetic standpoint. This yard is anticipated to be yard storage. It is being discussed. Part of the Litchfield Square project for Mike Rodolfo and his family will include a smaller Public Works yard. It seems that with our current interim director that there may be nodes of public works activities spread throughout the city instead of one centralized location, especially with that site being just over an acre in size. The personnel, the vehicle parking takes up a significant amount of space, as well as the inert material storage, the equipment. It's all being further examined, I guess, is the longest way to answer your question.
It's fixed, right? That's being fixed. See my hands?
If there's a line I'm trying to follow, I'm not getting it.
Oh, no, I'm joking around that, you know, if you want something done right, then you don't give it to a committee. If you want it to drag on, you give it to a committee, and that's what happens. And that's, you know, I think logically, Public Works, that building and all that stuff should be planned out first. And then you can vacate, then you don't have to, you know, screw around down there, you know, on the road.
Yes. It's in my reports from staff, but this Wednesday is a opportunity to go to St. Peter's at 5 p.m. to talk about the facilities planning. As to your point, there's going to be an opportunity to reuse the library. Reuse of the library affects the use of the rec center, which affects the use of the Mission Church, which affects the use of the cottages, and that's all going to be discussed. There'll be interactive elements as well as paper elements for those that don't have phones. Come by this Wednesday at 5 p.m. This Northwest Quadrant, not much has changed. What was the playground directly next to that restroom, directly next to that public works yard, is just open desert scape. This change reduced grass even further. And we're excited that we can really concentrate grass where it makes sense. The reason there was grass on either side of the playground is for the Frisbee toss, the dog, what have you, those sorts of cartwheels through the grass. But now being part of that event space just means that event space is multi-programmed, I guess you could say. And again, we focus, you know, the grass on the terraces, that event space and around the bandstand, bringing it back to historical significance in the areas it makes sense to be focusing on.
Can I just say something so I don't forget it?
Yes, ma'am.
When I go back to Georgia, the kids' favorite playground has a hill that I think is there because they had a mound of dirt that they were going to remove in phase 2. Because phase 2 of the park just happened and it's gone. But what they did with that hill in the interim was they put a slide on it. And put burlap that was not a metal slide, but put burlap bags at the top. And kids slid down. That was one of the favorite options, and they were disappointed to see it go away. But if we have enough of
yes,
that might be something, and I think it'd be an inexpensive investment.
Councilmember, was that a city park or was that a private?
It's I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. It's around a shopping center, so I'm imagining it's probably owned by the developer who developed that center.
Yeah, and you know, I hesitate to say, but it's the most fun things are usually the things the cities can't do.
Well, what's interesting about is you don't climb upstairs.
Correct.
You just go up to the
Yeah,
hill,
you're right.
grab a bag, and
Yep.
slide down the hill.
Yep, there's been a few examples that we looked at probably a year and a half ago of nature parks or just natural parks and enjoying it as it is, or using your imagination and getting to utilize the space how you see fit. Or you think about other countries where it's an old, you know, half-built structure and the kids work with hammer and nails and build their own, you know, erector set sort of thing. And with liabilities and lawsuits, it's so hard to have that kind of creative play.
Thank God for lawyers.
Yes, we talked about it. Yes. Other changes in this quadrant is a continuation of a few sidewalk paths. Prior, there was a ADA path that got you to the bandstand, but then you were dead-ended at the bandstand. You'll see now that path behind the restrooms not only has the stairs, it's the fire lane path going west, southwest, that gets you back to the fire lane for the ADA path. The other part was there wasn't formally a connection from the public works yard with the mower to get to the grass. So now you'll see that connection sidewalk going all the way from the parking lot over to the Sunset Terrace. And certainly you're dragging your DJ equipment, your wedding event, whatever the case may be, there's now a clear path to get there. The other thing that was updated here is we're showing the cell tower equipment on the north end, the tower itself on the south side of the fire lane, as well as the pump house. It was encouraged by PW Litchfield during this meeting, RPG and City Council, to maintain the pump house. They see it as a contributing element to the district as far as their national nomination. So although it's not in the greatest shape, it was their desire to keep it as is and shown as is as an educational element. So that has been incorporated. We're certainly in support of that effort. Rounding out this northwest side, that Ramada is on top of the reservoir. The reservoir is 325,000 gallons, constructed in 1920. Our friends at PW had the plans, and I've seen the plans. I think it's a nuclear blast shelter with how it's constructed with a concrete and rebar. It's imposing, quite frankly. But what that means is the opportunity to reuse that space becomes trickier. We are working with structural engineers, ground penetrating radar. Someone needs to get up there. We need to determine how much dead load and live load can stay on top of that tank. If it's not to be, then it has to be imploded. There is no way that we can uncork it and fill it with dirt. The way it was constructed it's an all or nothing scenario. I would speak for PW to tell you that their hope is to at least maintain the ring that makes up its diameter. It is more and more likely that the tank may have to remain sort of as is, and we'll determine with our structural engineers what can be on top of it. Because right now it's just dirt on top of it. Any further questions on this quadrant before we circle around? Okay. Moving to the southwest quadrant. This is the parking lot for the school. If you go over to Sun Health and look north, you can get a pretty good sense of how this is coming along. This parking lot does climb with the existing grade. It has been left as is to the extent possible. It can be left as is. You'll see on that north-south main path where it turns black is all the stairs getting you back down to grade to the parking lot. That is the start of the retaining wall. That retaining wall is about 10 feet in height and continues as it moves further east. We'll get to that on the next slide. The rest of this somewhat is what it was last time. Additional paths have been carved through this section, through the desert garden, to have more spaces, more educational opportunities, more placards with, the sort of landscaping flora that's in the site. I will tell you also that every shrub and tree has been specifically chosen to not require maintenance. This is not an area that we anticipate Disneyland. We're not doing topiaries. We're not doing cupcaking of the lantanas. There's no bougainvillea. This is area that's meant for spring and winter cutbacks, and that's it. Otherwise, this is left as is in its natural state to the absolute extent possible. Someone's going to tell you we need 12 new employees for public works. I don't think that's the case. Mow the grass and let nature be its thing. What has updated also is we worked with the school. There was going to be essentially a bit of a no man's land between their parking lot and our terrace that dropped between the two sites. And so that's silly. We should fill that in and make this a sidewalk connecting path. So what it did is it did save the school money. That retaining wall has been reduced and more of the land has been utilized for desert landscaping. You'll see also the bit of a chutes and ladder that climbs up as well. We're just looking at other elements to have people utilize the site. And if you recall, when we spoke last year, this is the fire lane exit as well as a path to get you down to that terrace. You'll see the terrace outlined in that rectangle so that trucks can get down there for tents, speakers, whatever is needed to get taken down there to make it a little bit easier, not as far of a trek. Questions on this slide? Yes.
What do the lines represent? I'm sorry.
Which color?
Gray.
So all the gray lines are paths, concrete sidewalks.
Yeah, right here.
It was the stairs maybe?
Yes, that's correct.
It's-
So,
okay.
oh, I'm sorry. The very quick lines are stairs. So if you went over to City Hall and stood on La Loma Avenue and you looked straight north, you wouldn't see, but if you can imagine, that's the main entry into the Sun Health campus, which is aligned with the bandstand, which is aligned with the historic
Okay.
terracing stairs. So we are putting that back in as it was, except the grass. But you could essentially draw a straight line and take that path all the way up to the bandstand, and those are stairs. The other paths essentially cut through intentionally so that you don't have to climb stairs. Those are our ADA
That's
paths.
what it was. Okay.
Other questions on this slide? Okay. Rounding off, the fourth southeast quadrant is the school, the theater. As mentioned, the block is nearly done. Next Tuesday, they'll be done with the block. You're starting to see some of the weatherproofing. If your friends ask you, no, the school isn't being painted purple. That's just the weatherproofing that's being put on. So please, stay tuned. It'll look nice when it's done. This slide also has a bulk of the homestead. You can see almost a line that wraps that homestead property, as well as the shrubs that kind of delineate their lease area. So the landscaping you see in there, the grass you see in there is on their dollar, their dime, their maintenance, as well as, you can see this, they have a south-facing patio space that has tables and chairs. They have selected a consultant a contractor. That contractor wants to mobilize in about a week and a half. We are doing our best to accommodate them, but we have not seen their full plan set yet. But they hope to get going as soon as possible. We will review it as soon as something is in our hands to review so that they can get going also.
So does Edith's Rose Garden, is that our property or our responsibility? or theirs?
So just to clarify, Julia's or?
Julia's
Okay.
Garden.
So Julia's Garden is within their lease area. They plan to refurbish and rehab that space. We will have a bit of a mirror image. I went back a slide. Just south of Julia's Garden, where it says Rose Garden, we are establishing Florence's.
So that's a new
roses.
garden.
That is a new garden as well, yes. So that's there, the desert garden, all the cactus garden is on that west end towards the terraces. It was very specific with our landscape architect. No one wants to sit on a bench and face south and stare in the sun. So the trees have been moved, the benches have been relocated, and we'll make sure when they go out and plant it that it's in accordance with where the most sun exposure is as well, because no one wants to deal with that.
Yeah.
Quite frankly.
Yeah, even when it's winter, it's just like, it's not.
Yeah, right. Correct. And that gets into, I always forget if it's deciduous or non-deciduous. Whatever the trees are that keep the leaves, because,
It's evergreen.
thank you, evergreen. Because even our pistache trees here in the square, depending on their age, it could be March, April before they have leaves again. And boy, it'd be nice to have that shade ahead of that.
Yeah.
So we're being very careful about those sorts of considerations as well. This area is the most depressed as it relates to the homestead. That the main cottages are about 20 feet in elevation above where you're seeing those driveways. So the main wall that keeps the hill from falling down will have cat claw vines on the ground level climbing to the first terrace. And then at the terrace level is an assortment of cactus that really helps keep kids from wanting to be at that middle level of things. The top layer will also have an overlook. Everything has to have guardrails and fencing. All of those guardrails and fencing will be covered with the shrub mixes that are there to eventually hide any sort of those protective barriers as well. It's a vegetative barrier in addition, and keeping it beautiful. Any questions on this last quadrant? Okay. So, we have formal motion and conversation with this. It's a little easier with RPG. It's more of a conversation. But as far as our analysis goes of the intended use, proposed park advances the original intents of the Denny family. You know, he was involved in 2002, 2003 with Horatio Skeen and the other Wally, whose name, his last name I always forget. Woody
Thomas.
Thomas, thank you. With Woody Thomas, Woodrow Thomas as mayor. You know, Wally Denny was very involved with how we were heading in 2002, 2003. There was a master plan that was developed with emphasis on social, cultural, and historical elements. We think that we've hit it. You know, we've gone from this agritourism idea with Sun Health to having a fine arts academy, a museum, a library, this park space. We really think we've gathered in the right players in this sort of this 21-acre campus. As mentioned, we've been very cognizant of the amenities, water conservation efforts. This is so much less grass than where we started, in accordance with those conservation efforts and having those in the right space, as well as the vegetation as far as ongoing maintenance concerns. We don't want that kind of Mickey Mouse environment. So this is all reflecting over 150 responses on online surveys, in-person surveys, electronic surveys, in our open house, charrette meeting, as well as on our website is continuing to remain open, as well as, you know, the presentations we had late last year. So as far as DRB, we'd asked for a recommendation of approval to City Council file PZ 2570 at 5374 Litchfield Road, subject to the exhibits provided. Happy to answer any further questions.
Question?
I'll make it as presented.
Okay, we have a motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
And a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
One abstention.
Okay. 3 ayes. Okay.
Which will carry the vote.
Yes.
I have a
And
question, not related, it is related, but do you know if they've removed the matata from there? Are you aware there was a matata?
I will talk to you after the meeting, if that's okay.
Mhm.
Okay. And Chair, for some reason, we would like to keep you on your toes. We do have another item. It's the minutes.
That's
The
it.
minutes succeeded this item for some reason, but we'd look to still get that going.
Okay, you have a motion to approve December 4 minutes.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes.
I'll second
And
it.
a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, staff report on current events.
Chair, thank you. I have just one. I will see if I can get this to work well. It's a very incredible tool, but boy, is it finicky. So the McCarthy team that is building the school has an agreement with a drone operator to take drone photography, even though they're very close to the base. It required an extra level of clearance, and they take photos for us every 2 weeks. But this kind of gives you an idea. This was taken a week and a half ago. Wait, hang on. Oh, we can go further. Well, this is going to take a second to reload. No, that's not bad.
How does they do it at night?
So eventually, the rendering fails at a certain point beyond. But this kind of gives a sense of scale as well. As you come in, you know, you can see how much that wall will hold. What you're seeing right now is the, you know, soil nails and the shotcrete to keep it from falling, but there's still a cast in place wall at the first level and then a CMU block at the second level that will hold all this together. It'll be backfilled with dirt, so you don't see any of this. This will all disappear behind it. This is the dirt that has to get moved, so you can get a sense of scale, how big that dirt is. It is taller than the house. If you know anybody, we're always looking for more friends to take it. Here's looking at the main theater entry here at the corner. very large windows. So once this is beautified with the cat claw and the cactus, you'll be able to take a look from the lobby up at the cottages. You can see the fly tower 2 weeks ago was just getting done. I don't know why I'm wiggling my mouse. Like you can see it, you can't. But in the background, you can see the highest point, which is the curtains and counterweights system that is back there. School itself, that's the theater, and then these are the 3 buildings that make up the school. I don't have my mouse with me, so forgive my fumbling through this. Quad space between all 3 buildings. This is the secure area. The campus is, in a sense, open. The parking lot is open. The main front doors are open. The students are contained within the spaces between the buildings intentionally because this is an area that will be open to public to go utilize the park as well. Elevator tower and the 2nd floor, and then coming around, maybe back out.
Say there was a fly loft?
The fly for the curtains on the theater.
So it's not like not an actual fly loft. Yeah, okay, that was I guess I thought that you would.
This is the 1st floor, and on your exhibit, you'll see 2 pieces of the 1st floor. That's what this indicates. This is the breezeway to get out to the bus lane. And then the 2nd floor is, fully contained within that. But you can get a real sense of how this is going and how much is going on as far as the operations of this goes. And you can go, ooh. I mean, if you dropped your phone, you could find it with this drone. It's unbelievable, quite frankly. But just to have this available so we can all get a sense of how it's going has been incredibly helpful. Other than that, as mentioned, this Wednesday is a public input meeting for the reuse of the Florence Britton current library building and how that affects any sort of programming at the rec center. And then if there's opportunities for the Mission Church to start being utilized, as well as the other 2 cottages, as the other museum friends at Farm and Ranch decided not to move forward last year. So cottages remain available for a partner. And that is the end of my update.
Question about that. What are the chances of getting the drone drivers to go over and do the same thing with lot 3, 4 and the park?
So our drone operator can go everywhere except the hill. So if there are other locations that you would like to see, we can certainly pass that along. It's a special license for anything at La Loma.
Okay.
I think someone is doing like time lapse of the Litchfield Square, right?
Chuck Enderby.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I'm talking, lot 3 and 4.
okay.
But it's just it's not LiDAR.
It's taken them a long time to put the cement block up, but then they're only using, maximum I've ever seen is 8 people out there setting block. And aren't they under pressure to be done by something like June or July or this year? Otherwise they get penalties? From the time they started, wasn't it a year?
Why don't we stop my staff update and let's talk once this meeting is complete.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Any board members with current events? Okay, motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye.